Low energy, unfocused, foggy? You might be dehydrated. Whether it's hot yoga, over 100-degree weather, or too much sun. Gator Light, with a specialized blend of 5 electrolytes, was scientifically designed to help move fluids into the body faster for rapid rehydration. Shop now at retailers nationwide. Gator Light hydrates faster than water. Is it in you? Symptoms noted are signs of mild to moderate dehydration. Consult a healthcare professional if symptoms persist.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Chronic migraine is 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It prevents on average 8 to 9 headache days a month versus 6 to 7 for placebo.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
AI is moving fast across the enterprise. But without visibility, it's just chaos. Different tools, different models, different teams using AI in completely different ways. ServiceNow turns that chaos into control. With the AI Control Tower, you see all your AI across the business in one place. What it's doing, what it's done, and what it's about to do. So you stay in control. To put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
The Musial with Alan and Daniel. We'll talk about the Cardinals all night long. Everyone come gather round, listen to your favorite sound. We'll talk about the Cardinals all night long. We'll talk the games and all the rest, about the team that we love best. We'll talk about the Cardinals all night long. We're gonna talk about the Cardinals all night long.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Meet Me at Musial. I'm your host, Daniel Shoptaw at C70. With me, as always, Alan Medlock, a Medlock One. Coming to you Saturday morning. The Cardinals drop a game to Philadelphia last night. And Alan, you and I were talking before we got started here. It's been a week that's been kind of chaotic. And before we talk about, well, let's talk about the stuff on the field before we get to the stuff off the field. Cardinals could have swept Cincinnati. Instead, they win that series 3-2. Had a chance to win last night against Philadelphia, drop it in extra innings. Just a back and forth week a little bit on the field.
Sure has been. It's I think you've banked a little bit by the series win in Chicago. I was hoping for a 4-1 Cincinnati trip. I mean, you just have to win it to take it. They'd have lost that wild game on Thursday, then it looks a little bit different. And then you go into another playoff contender with Philadelphia. I mean, on a personal note, I would love to you win this series, things get pretty interesting. You win one, you're still right here in it because it's going to be a winning road trip. But it has been a crazy week, and there were too many low-scoring games in Cincinnati to where Thursday was the least bit surprising. I always feel like there's one game, if not every road trip there or every other road trip there, that turns into one of those shootouts because the ball just flies out so easy. That was it was good to see the comeback and the win, and of course get the benefit of a misplaying center and take it and run with it. I don't know if I've ever seen a game where a team held on with 6 walks in the ninth, though.
Yeah,
that's what was nuts about it. And I was like, oh, this is, where this is going. You hit a bleeder right here, and this is nuts. So to hold on, it was just insane overall. So hopefully you can get one in Philadelphia, and I would assume they will. You still feel pretty good about things where you are right now. I think it's more concerning than what we're going to talk about off the field.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you talked about that Reds game being a shootout, but it should have ended 5-4. And like I said, that Dane Myers drops that ball, and then everything went haywire after that for both sides, which is surprising given how Cincinnati usually the ballpark usually plays. And I know Cincinnati, and which is another reason why the Reds' offensive struggles have been really remarkable this year. The Cardinals played to that too. I mean, they didn't get a whole lot of offense in that game. They probably got more in that 9th inning than they did the rest of the other 4 games.
Yeah, it's you're right. You're exactly right, and it's they're fun right now, but you really just don't know what to make of them. Like, what kind of ball club this is, but yeah, it's been a crazy week, and I know that we say this all the time, or I definitely do. You get a little more excited as the weeks go by. Not necessarily that you're in a playoff spot, but that you're still there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a lot of fun, and the fact that we're checking scores of other teams in late August says a lot. I mean, we're quickly getting to September, and a homestand next week, and a lot of optimism, whether it's a playoff run or not. It's just exciting to watch, and it's kind of nice to be back on appointment television at this point.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the standings somewhat. I told somebody this week just to treat that like a summer blockbuster movie. It's fun to watch, but it doesn't necessarily hold a lot of weight. That kind of thing. That's where I'm kind of with that. I'm not really believing that much is going to happen out of it, but it's kind of fun to just kind of keep track of it. I'm kind of probably more interested in just seeing if they can finish over 500, because that's such a big thing for this team that was supposed to be so bad. And the fact that the Cardinals haven't 2 out of the last 3 years, this is a kind of a goal. And so when you take this young team, and if they can finish over 500, I think that says a lot for that, and sets them up pretty well for 2027, 2028, and all that kind of stuff. But that road may have gotten a little harder yesterday. Andre Pallante goes on the injured list, and then Hunter Dobbins leaves the game with, I think, forearm tightness, which probably means he's on the injured list, probably maybe done for the year. Who knows? We'll see. That's just a guess, but that forearm tightness never seems to work out really well when you hear that. The Cardinals have gone basically 2 years without a starting pitcher injury, at least during the season. Hunter Dobbins had the stuff that he had to work out, but that was when he came over. Is that, I guess, between that and maybe some of the other stuff we've seen on the field, are things just catching up to the Cardinals? Have they they've lived a charmed life for so long, and now kind of the bills coming due?
Well, injury wise, probably. Yeah, that's whenever Pallante went down yesterday, I was like, man, no more than, did I have a conversation yesterday morning and literally said this line. I said, what Leahy's doing is amazing. What Pallante's doing is great. And I'm a huge Hunter Dobbins guy. I said, because one, I think that you're going to compete and stay in those games. No more did that happen than you hear Pallante down with elbow inflammation, which always makes you think, well, this is not going to, right when they say we're hoping this to be quick. Well, I do too, but I'm always skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Dobbins go down with, you're right, forearm tightness, which is typically not a good sign. Also yesterday, I read it yesterday. It probably came out earlier in the week. The headline in Baseball America was, the Cardinals have a ton of pitching talent, maybe too much. And I was like, well, this is all kind of coming to a head pretty quickly. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is, uh, you know, every other start I've become a bigger believer in Leahy, and now he's probably due for a clunker. I hate to say it, and you hope that that's not going to be debilitating, but stay in the rotation. Liberatore's kind of bounced back a little bit. I know that we're kind of having the one-off starts and whatnot, but he was decent in Cincinnati, going to hold you in, and now you're going to have Matthews for an extended time. But you're right. I mean, they haven't had one of the big, huge injuries or missing a major piece in a while, especially in the rotation. But then last night you see the lineup pop out after you have the news on Pallante. You don't know anything about Dobbins yet, and then you run a lineup out of no win with a left-handed starter due to the thumb, and then may have lost the signing who they potentially thought was going to be a long term in the outfield or give him a run to do it in Pereira. So yeah, I don't know. This was a rough 24 hours, I would say, for the Cardinals just due to injury wise, and you make a good point. I mean, not only in the rotation, they haven't really had any major debilitating injuries.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, and to elaborate on that, on the field, I feel like we saw a lot this week of the, just especially the pitching side of it, but more specifically the bullpen, just kind of, those players that you kind of relied on kind of starting to blow up, starting to maybe wear down. We've seen a little bit of that offensively, although not as much. The offense seems to still be doing what it does. Yeah, I don't know. I think I hate to, and I was out of pocket a lot yesterday. So really I saw about Pallante about 2 minutes before I sent you the link to start this thing. And Dobbins the same way, but I think it's going to be very interesting to figure out how they're going to feel this. It sounds like they already had Quinn Matthews ready for Pallante start, which makes sense. I mean, that's your guy. That's your sixth man right now. But how do they feel if Hunter Dobbins is going to be out? Who comes up? Because I think that becomes more kind of a little interesting, because there's a lot of guys on the depth of the Cardinals, as you were talking about, but a lot of those guys aren't ready yet. This time next year, you'll have 5 guys you could choose from. But right now, I don't know who that next guy up is.
Yeah, I mean, just out of I'm sure you want the Arkansas guy to make this move, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's who I would like to see as well, just because of that's the name we've heard for the longest time, and it's we're talking about Jerpy, by the way, of course, but I don't know. I mean, to me, I mean, that seems like the move, but man, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, it's where is like Mott's on who has a start this year?
Yeah.
Is that somebody else? I mean, I really don't know. And that's when you lose the multiple arms, you're like, yeah, there's a lot coming, but man, it's going to be tough right now. So yeah, I personally would like to see Jerpy, but I just don't know.
I mean, Jerpy's only been in Memphis for about 10 seconds. And so that, I mean, he's been in the system a long time, and maybe, you're ready to go ahead and make that move. I don't know. My guess is a boring one, honestly. They just signed that Josh Fleming to go pitch in Memphis. I think they've got room on the 40 man. They could add him without any issue. He's a starter. He's not anything, fancy or anything, but I have a feeling they kind of had this kind of thing in mind. Maybe they already knew that Pallante was having the problems. I can't remember when they signed him. It was just a couple. I'm not sure if he's even made a start for Memphis yet. So, so I think that they would probably go that route, in part because they are ready just to keep these guys in Memphis, keep them developing and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, we saw the promotion of Baez last week after they talked about him not necessarily being ready to come up. So I don't know. I maybe they would go a different way. but to me, I maybe like I said, maybe this is a Mo move. Mo would have brought up the Fleming, and we wouldn't even worry about it. This is a
Yeah.
different front office, but I feel like that's going to be the issue. I think that we're going to see them just try to plug, especially if they think Pallante is going to come back this year, or any kind of short period of time. I'm kind of like with you. I don't know that I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't think that that's likely. But they know more about, they've got more information. They know, more about this than we do. So, and I don't feel like, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like this front office is necessarily going to be overly optimistic on players. I think they're going to be kind of realistic on things.
Yeah, that's a good point. And boring is one of those that I don't know if that's just the Mo trauma that we feel of the low hanging fruit move. And you know what, it may work out. You never know, but yeah, you're exactly right. And honestly, the only reason I didn't say that move is I didn't know who would be available to be that boring move. It almost expected it. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it would be tough. Yeah, yesterday was a tough call, especially just because you feel really good for what Pallante's done and fought through, and then I was quickly falling in love with the repertoire of Dobbins and just the competitiveness. So yeah, it stinks to lose two pieces of the rotation, and I do wish there was something electric that was, hey, maybe not ready, but be close enough to where we can go in and see if we can't get a run out of this. But I just don't know if that's there yet.
Yeah, and you made you did say that about Bryson Maltz. They've shifted him to the bullpen. He hasn't pitched since July 5th. He hasn't pitched a start. I mean, he's only pitched like a couple innings here, 2 or 3 innings here. Even when he started a game, he's not gone deep in a game over 5 innings since the calendar flipped to July. So and they haven't necessarily. There's been opportunities for them to bring him up even as a reliever, and they haven't done it. It's going to be interesting to see if there's any. I mean, I didn't think he did that badly when he was up, but I don't know that he's fitting into the mold that they expect. And here we are. We're talking about this, but we're only like a week away, just a little over from the expanded rosters, which is not much, but you're bringing up probably another hitter, another pitcher, and if you're already bringing up, a Fleming there, and if these guys, Pallante and Dobbins are out for an extended period of time, or maybe the season, when you have those expanded rosters, that might be when you see the Jerpy call up, or somebody like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that we're that close. I know that we talked about it, about length, about how we liked it now as opposed to what it used to be, and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, we're right up against September, and that does make a lot of sense because you're going to extend it anyway. So, yeah, I mean, you know what? The recognizable names are always fun. I mean, like to see what Baez did when he was called up. I mean, that's the stuff that's kind of the shot in the arm stuff that you'd want, and I'd love to see that in the rotation too. Which is, the jury's still out, and like I said, I'm really skeptical about the arms coming back too, especially rushing one back. Dobbins, I think, would be probably shelved for a little bit. I do have a question for you, and I didn't want to look it up because I had some connectivities issues whenever you were talking just a second ago. Why was Dobbins out the first half of the year? Was it ACL?
I don't quite remember. It was.
I want to say first half, but I knew that he was.
It was an arm.
Yeah.
So, I think it was knee leg.
Okay, I thought so.
And it was from when he came. I mean, he was hurt when he came over from the Red Sox.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm almost positive it was knee, but I'm not certain. So, but yeah, I mean, it's this is one of those where you're just like at the point now for the Cardinals, you'd like to see as many spots open as possible, and to go in and see how many innings you can fill. But you're limited with the 2 that you can bring up, and it can be interesting what they do. But just from in the past, it was a lot less interesting than what it could have been.
Yeah, you're right. He tore his ACL last July, so he was recovering from that. So
okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I think this. I mean, it's been a remarkable run, and it does feel like the Cardinals have figured out a little bit of something about pitchers that is keeping them healthy. But part of it is also that they don't have anybody throwing 102 miles an hour constantly. in the starting rotation, which does tend to lead to injuries as well. Um, but yeah, I didn't. I mean, when it rains, it pours, kind of thing. You wouldn't have. You could. We've always talked about. You could fill one spot pretty easily, but having to fill two is a challenge. And I look forward to seeing how they handle that. It helps that the Cardinals' schedule is probably a little bit easier for going forward. But I mean, they've still got to get through this weekend, and then they still have some big names on the September docket, if you will. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's I just hate to see both of those guys, especially like you said, Pallante has had such a year this year, after being so terrible last year, that you would hate to see it end like this. And I hope again he might be back. We still have like 6 weeks of the season, so
Yeah.
it's always a possibility. But you would hate for it to come to a close like this when he's been so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, you almost have to bank on pitcher injuries, ultimately, but it's always tough for a guy like that that's fought back so hard.
Yeah. And then you referenced it. We hadn't really touched on it, but Pereira leaves last night with what they are afraid is a broken hand, and I think that's going to be interesting. Who comes up for him? I mean, because there's not, Joshua Baez is up, and that's the hitting prospect everybody's excited about. Does this mean? I mean, a return of Nolan Gorman, one, is not exciting. But it's probably needed. I mean, I think there's going to be a need for them to see if that run, and I haven't looked to see if it's continued this week, but he was hitting well in Memphis for a couple of weeks. Is that a real change? Is it going to translate to the major leagues? That's stuff they're going to need to see at some point in time. But I mean, replacing a center fielder with a third baseman when you only have Nathan Church on the roster probably doesn't work. So you're probably looking at an outfielder, and I'm also just half awake this morning, so I may be missing an obvious one. I can't think. It's not like you're bringing Victor Scott the second back because he hasn't done anything in Memphis. I don't know what that alternate move is if he does go on the injured list.
Yeah, I do. Is there any is there any thought to a Gorman and playing for me more in the outfield potential? Is there? We never hear about Sajasi anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And would that be a possibility? And it's funny that you bring up Scott, because that was one of my first thoughts last night, of the fact that I'm slightly surprised we haven't seen a little bit of that, and I wonder if Church has just kind of surpassed him a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Your old buddy Velasquez is back out. He was released by the Stros. You were looking at that route, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, that's it's a good answer. I mean, if my gut says it's probably going to be Gorman, but I wouldn't really be surprised with anything.
Low energy, unfocused, foggy? You might be dehydrated. Gatorade Zero powders have been scientifically designed to help improve hydration balance in the body. With a clinically proven electrolyte blend and no artificial colors or flavors. Great tasting hydration no matter where you're going. Shop now online or at retailers nationwide. Gatorade, hydrates better than water. Is it in you? Symptoms noted are signs of mild to moderate dehydration. Consult a healthcare professional if symptoms persist.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Yeah. Victor Scott is actually hitting a little bit better than I thought at Memphis. He's up about 250. But still, I don't 19 walks, 41 strikeouts. I don't know that they would go that route. Colin Ledbetter has had a decent run. I don't know that that's a guy that they add to the lineup. I don't know. I think, you're right. Maybe they do a, Sajasi or Gorman let Fermin play more in the outfield, but we've also seen just last night that, when they have him in center field, you take the good, you take the bad.
Yeah.
And, maybe this means Baez plays a little bit more center field and Hermin's over in left. I don't know if that works well or not. Yeah, I think it's an interesting wrinkle. I mean, Nathan Church will play a lot of that, so that's probably not going to be as big a thing. You just find somebody that can back it up, but I mean, you still want somebody that can back it up.
Yeah, I've become a fan of Fermin's bat. I really think that that's a development that's highly positive this year. I'm not a fan of Fermin in center field. I mean, and that probably goes without saying. It's that it's so the one off I get, but for an extended run, I think that would be pretty traumatic. Yeah, I mean that's you're going to see Church a lot, and I something tells me that you're going to see a run of Gorman here to get to the end because as you run in, you can get a full month and figure some things out. I'm not like that's going to overcome what they've had for the last 5 years, but still, I mean, it's I think that it's probably due to happen.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I'm trying to pull up his game logs here. He was still he had that tear down there. And let's see now. Yeah, he hit a home run. What that was 2 nights ago. He didn't play last night. But 2 nights ago had a home run. He's just it's just Nolan Gorman, right? 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 0 for 4. The strikeouts are still there. In fact, over the last, let's see, 5 days, he's struck out 2 out of 3 at bats, 2 out of 4 at bats, 3 out of 4 at bats, 2 out of 3 at bats, 3 out of 4 at bats, if I'm reading that right. So the strikeouts are starting to pile back up. He'd actually gotten into the spot where he was doing a little better, but they started to pile back up. I think that, and I don't know, Kyle or anybody that actually watches this would be better off to tell you, but my feeling always was, when he had this, people were talking about it, he had that stretch down the minor leagues with 8 home runs and 16 at bats or something like that. I mean, some sort of nice little run. And I was like, that just feels like what Nolan Gorman does, right? He goes for 2 or 3 weeks where he hits the start out of the ball, and then the pitchers make an adjustment, and it takes him another year before he figures out where that adjustment is. And it kind of feels like that's what we saw as a big run, and now it's back to striking out and not necessarily doing a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those at this point too. Would you rather see a run of Gorman knowing that you could run into something like that, or would you rather see a Fermin, Blaze Jordan type mix? That's I don't know if there's enough at bats to go around for all those guys, but just for a month of run left, I wouldn't mind seeing Gorman knowing what he is for a month. Let's maybe looking for that kind of jolt. You know what I mean? But I think that we figured out that's exactly what you are going to get.
Yeah. I think that if you bring up Gorman either now or when rosters expand, that is with the idea of this is the last shot, right? This is
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Whatever happens here, that's going to define. If we see some hope, then okay. But for the most part, if this goes how we think it's going to go, then you're probably looking at a non-tender in the offseason. Because I don't know that there's trade value there. And it's, you hate to say that. I mean,
without a doubt.
Big, huge. I mean, Gorman was probably one of the biggest, draft grabs at the, for the, because he was drafted in what draft was that? I remember he was 2017, 2018, I guess, because it was the first Cardinal that was drafted that was born in the 2000s. And up until that point, the Cardinals really hadn't had a lot of exciting players. And then you get this guy with all this power potential and had been rated highly, and it kind of fallen to him, and that, you felt like something was going to happen out of that. And it has at times, but it hasn't panned out the way that I think a lot of people would have hoped.
Sure. Yeah. We just heard about that power profile and, what they needed, middle of the lineup guy forever, willing to move over to second base when you get Arenado and all those things. And, that's commendable stuff, but you do have to wonder if the runway's done, knowing that you're young and you have draftable players that you drafted, and you're moving up, and it may be a good party for both groups.
Yeah, I mean, the only saving grace for Gorman is the fact that third base is still a situation where the Cardinals don't know what they're necessarily going to do. Highest Bias is down at Springfield. Saw him last night, and that's a guy that could shift over to third at some point in time and move up. But there's not a clear, prospect that's playing third base that Gorman would block necessarily. So that's his basically only grave, because if he was still playing second base, he'd be gone by now. I mean, if that's all he could do, JJ Weatherhold's got that locked down. So many other positions either have somebody there or have somebody coming that, if he played anything but third base, I think they would have already moved on. But, there's still a possibility and there's still an opportunity. So we'll see if those things match. I agree with you, though. I think that we'll probably see him, and then it'll probably be, to just confirm the answers that they probably already have. Yeah,
that's a good point. And you have options, and that's the way the game works sometimes. And it's, you kind of see now. It's easy to say the square peg and round hole because of the guys that are holdover from Mo heading into Bloom, and you kind of see what the direction that's headed and what the look's going to be.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a tale of two cities type of thing, right? I mean, the guys that have come in either through draft or trade over the last year plus seem so much different than the ones that have been here before. Now, I mean, Joshua Baez is a guy that was drafted, under Mo and they developed, and but it was that tweak in the last year or two that really brought him to where he's at. And I guess we've gone half an hour into this show and we still haven't talked about the fact that Joshua Baez set history in Wrigley Field. We recorded last Saturday right before we knew he was going to debut. We didn't quite know he was going to debut like that. That was, it was just incredible to watch, just all the way around.
Sure, it was awesome. To happen there makes it even so much better. First big league pitch, and then from there on became what it was. Just it was nuts. It was awesome. I mean, and it spearheaded what turned out to be a big time series win. And a guy that we understand there's some swing and miss, but I mean, we just talked about another swing and miss guy that's been here for 5-6 years in Gorman that you're going to get, but he's also a dude that can steal some bases for you and play a little bit of defense. So I don't know. I mean, it's exciting. The homer last night was awesome, and it's intriguing to have that kind of power right now. And I understand there's going to be some frustrations because there was an extended over after the 3 home run game, and those things are going to happen, especially for him. And it's 1,000 miles an hour right now. So no, it was awesome. It was insane, and Saturday afternoon, all eyes on it, and it's tough to beat.
Yeah. I mean, anytime anybody they could hit, the first pitch that they see out of the ballpark is pretty amazing. And to do it, even, I mean, in Wrigley, it's Wrigley, but it's also dead center field. I mean, that was going out of almost everywhere, if not everywhere. Yeah. I didn't look at the numbers, but then to get in a 3-2 count, work his way back into a 3-2. I think it got down like maybe 2 strikes. Work his way to a 3-2 and then drive a pitch like that.
Yeah.
And then to go the opposite field. I mean, just to spread it out like that.
Big time power.
It was incredible. And, you mentioned, then he didn't get another hit until the Cincinnati series somewhere in there when he finally got a single, which is like, I wasn't sure. Is he ever going to have a hit that's not going out of the ballpark? Um, but even then, even in that stretch, he wasn't striking out just a ton. He did strike out some. I mean, it's just going to happen. And he hit some balls hard, that just got caught or whatever the case may be. I think he put one up to the wall someplace. So yeah, it's still a learning curve and it's all that, but it feels like the process is working for him. And if he continues to do it, I mean, good things are going to happen.
Sure, that's a big bat in the middle, and the athleticism is awesome. So it's exciting. I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm and positivity right now in the Cardinal lineup, and I understand there's going to be some ups and downs with performance, but you kind of are starting to see the new culture take shape. And Tale of Two Cities was a good one. I mean, because you're just like, well, you can kind of see the guys that are in, the guys that are out, and the movement that we're seeing to become hopefully a long sustaining winning ball club, and Baez being part of that. I mean, that will be the next one that we're probably frustrated with the strikeouts, but could be that 35 homer guy that they need. Look what Walker's going to hit 30 bombs this year. Super athletic, good, and his defense gets understated, by the way. Yeah. What Walker's done in right field, and hopefully that's the same situation with Baez. So yeah, it's there's a lot of excitement right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we forget. I mean, Baez has a little bit more overall game than like Gorman did, right? I mean,
yeah,
you said he can steal bases. He's already got a stolen base in the major leagues. He's got 22 doubles in Memphis. He hit 256 there. He's going to, if he could be it's kind of what we said about Nolan Gorman. If he could be a 240, 250 hitter with that kind of power, great. You deal with the strikeouts and you go on. And I think you got a better chance with Joshua Baez doing that because it doesn't feel like we haven't seen as much at the major league, obviously. It doesn't feel like he gets exploited like Gorman does, right? That it feels like, I mean, what we've seen over the last couple of years, it's harder to imagine him hitting, 050 in the major leagues like Gorman did for a while.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you'd probably find a way to find some hits a little bit easier than Gorman could be, just due to the athleticism aspect of that too. That's a good point. There's always a stiffness to Gorman to me. I was impressed that he was able to play second because he just seems like a big dude. But no, Baez has been fun to watch. I mean, it's and I like the fact that they're trying to play him every day. I mean, he played a heck of a lot more in Cincinnati than I thought, even when he was struggling a little bit. I mean, probably with the ideology that the ball gets in the air and it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
There. So I don't know. The deployment's been great. I give Oli a lot of credit, of how he's managed this year, especially with some of the young guys. And it seems to be blending well. You're going to have some hiccups with the injuries right now, but the fact that, we talked about there's no immediate impact guys that are coming that are ready right now. Man, the next couple of years of impact guys that are going to be ready could be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be. I mean, you mentioned that about Oli, and again, Manager of the Year is one of those weird awards that I don't know how you really justify, but he's going to be in that conversation, isn't he? Just given what the expectations were for this Cardinal team this year.
Sure, I would think so. I mean, he's thread the needle of competitiveness and extended playing time and growth. I mean, it's extremely difficult. I mean, he gets beat up a lot for bullpen usage, but you only have what you have, and that turns into also one of those that you don't know who's ready to go out there. I felt like they've been battling an extended or a shortened bullpen all week. And what's historically tough road series for you. I mean, I've been impressed, and I think that it's funny how you go from one regime to the next, like he's had to, and to blend in as well as he has with this one. It feels like this was a bloom higher, essentially. With Oli's age, the way that he's handled it, with the whole staff, I feel like he's done a heck of a job. And you're right. I mean, it's Manager of the Year, probably go back to Milwaukee just because that's the hot ticket. Right now, or potentially LA, which we can argue the merits of that, but yeah, I mean, Atlanta's Atlanta, and I wouldn't think that there's a better choice than Marmol. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, because again, manager of the year is much more about how your team did versus
Yeah,
expectations than anything else of any kind of good managing or whatever the case. Either they're not necessarily judging decisions or anything like that. So, take it for what it's worth. But yeah, I don't think anybody's really surprised by the Braves too much. And you can't really factor Walt Weiss there. I mean, I'm sure he'll get votes, but the Phillies changed managers in the middle of the day. How
yeah,
much is that? How much do you
that's
give Matt
probably one to
Mattingly?
watch. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but it's also one of those things where, and I agree, it just depends on how informed
yeah,
voting is. But it was another one of those things where he's like, this team was going to do this no matter, probably because the schedule was getting easier and players were going to come around. Mattingly probably had a little bit of say in it, but how much is hard to know. But you're right, that's probably one that gets some attention. Um, Brewers and Dodgers they're just always there, and I think that's Pat Murphy's won what twice in a row.
yeah.
Um, I feel like there's going to be some okay, that's expected type of thing now, and so yeah, I mean, you just kind of look at it. I don't know that there's not a team that just kind of came out of nowhere. Um, you know, you know, if Pittsburgh had played like they were playing earlier, they would have done that, but they've kind of fallen back. So I don't know. I think it's interesting because I really hadn't given it consideration, but I think he's going to be a strong contender. And again, what does that mean for Ollie as a manager? Whatever you want it to mean. If you don't like Ollie, you just kind of discount it, and if you do, you kind of point to that and say, hey, at least he's getting that recognition. But I think that for I think Ollie gets a lot of grief, but I feel like in the last couple of years that's eased up. I mean, you still see some people that are out there just can't stand him and think that every move that he makes is wrong and what's that idiot doing in the manager. But I think there's people like that for every manager. I bet there were
Sure,
people
no,
like that
completely agree with that.
with Whitey Herzog. We just didn't know about it because they weren't on Twitter. So I feel like there's been a lot more, and maybe that's because the organization as a whole has gotten better about being open and explaining, and partly because we know the focus has changed to development and things like that. But I feel like Ollie's probably won some people over by now.
Yeah, no, I would think so. And it's I feel like he has been so media friendly.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a lot of things, and I can't remember the last manager of the well in today's era. I mean, that just doesn't happen much.
Right.
She'll, I would think, but I don't know. I kind of start backtracking my statement because I do kind of wonder if it's a 2026 thing as much as it is a Marmol thing. But I think he's fantastic on the media side of things.
Low energy, unfocused, foggy? You might be dehydrated. Gatorade Zero powders have been scientifically designed to help improve hydration balance in the body. With a clinically proven electrolyte blend and no artificial colors or flavors. Great tasting hydration no matter where you're going. Shop now online or at retailers nationwide. Gatorade, hydrates better than water. Is it in you? Symptoms noted are signs of mild to moderate dehydration. Consult a healthcare professional if symptoms persist.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Yeah, I think he does a pretty good job of kind of laying out, and he's been good. Not if not on TV, and I don't see him, like I don't see the post game shows very much or anything like that. But I know I have read from Derek Gould or from Benjamin Hockman or whatever, they talk about those situations where they'll be in the manager's office and he'll be like honestly asking their opinion. Hey, should I have hit here? What was the thinking here? What do you think about it? And he'll admit, I'm not 100% sure that was the right move, or he'll be like, yeah, that was the right move. It didn't work out, but it was the right move. And But there were, that was a recent one where they batted. They pinch hit Burleson, and of course, then I think it was the Yankees won the series. The Yankees walked him, and then it didn't pan out. And he was like, he wanted to get Burleson, he wanted to make sure you didn't leave Burleson's bat on the bench, but was that the place to do it? And and they went back and forth, and there was good arguments either way. I just think it's very interesting for him to be open to, hey, this is difficult, and there's a lot of different points of view on this, and my way may not be the right way. It's just I'm the one in charge, so this is why we're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. That I think that's welcome, and it's part of growth, and yeah. I mean, I've been impressed by the way that he's handled his business and been open, and just overall seems like a pretty good dude.
Yeah, I think, and you're right. I mean, it does feel like he's obviously blended in well with Heim, and he's a guy that's come from a development background, so maybe that's not surprising, but it doesn't feel like. There was some idea, and we talked about it too. Is Heimblum going to make a managerial change? Just because he wants his own guy in there. He didn't, and it feels like it'd be a surprise if they ever. I mean, they'll have to make a move at some point in time, but it's going to be a number of years most likely before they feel like they have to move on from Marmol.
Yeah, where it felt like a year in, year out, new regime on what was going to happen. You never know, but I think that this is a pretty good fit.
Yeah, I think so. Are you at all concerned with Mason Wynn? The thumb injury has flared up again. We saw, he's sitting out a little bit. The offense has been not. I mean, he's had his runs, but overall, it's not been necessarily where we would have thought it would be. As he kind of feels like he's taken a step back. Obviously, the defense is still there. The defense is amazing. But are you at all concerned about, just his overall game going forward?
Probably more the injuries than the offense. I'll tell you that. Just because, one, you come off a knee, you're still nimble. I still feel like he's played pretty well. The thumb potentially is a one-off situation. That I'm not as concerned about, but yeah, I mean, the health has been an issue, but he does seem to post quite a bit.
Yeah, he does play a lot.
Yeah, my long-term outlook on Wynn is, one, there's going to be a lot of eye rolls on this one. If you can play shortstop to where you save your team runs, I do think the added bonus of offense is truly that, just the added bonus. That being said, we've had this before to where if Mason Wynn can be Mason Wynn, then Baez, Walker, Weatherholt, Burleson, Herrera have to be those guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think that you have to. I don't think he needs to be a tent pole in your lineup. I think that it's one of those that you're going to get runs where he hits. I don't think in today's historical era he'll ever look like a plus hitter, but I do think he's as much of a plus defender as you can get out there. He could be the perennial Gold Glove guy, so much so now that he's going to be judged differently than other guys are. As in, he can get to that ball and his arm overcomes a whole lot of things that he's going to get some errors that other guys simply wouldn't, that they would be called hits just because he gets the thing so much easier than other people do. I'm not concerned about Wynn. I'm more concerned about them giving up on Wynn than I am about his performance. I think that he needs to be the next signing if it's not Burleson, to make sure that they stay there. But I think that what you get for Walker, if another year of this kind of Walker, and he's going to be lined up for a big contract. But I think that I worry about the idea that, hey, we could maybe find another Mason Wynn, and I would argue that you can't.
Yeah. I've made the comparison. People have heard me, and I know it's a stretch to some degree, but Ozzie had the same type of thing. If you look at Wynn's first 4 years, like WRC plus versus Ozzie's the first 4 years of WRC plus in the 70-80 range. But for both of those, and Ozzie worked up his way to league average and, a couple years above league average hitting. But it was the defense that obviously was his calling card. And I think that's the same type of thing with Wynn. If you can get him to a league average bat, which is not a huge step, and we've seen him do some of that in the past, then he's one of your most valuable players on your team.
Yeah.
With that glove. Now, the issues with him is the injuries, but the back is the biggest thing. We haven't seen it flare up as much this year, but as he gets older, that could really impact what he can do at the maybe the second most demanding position on the field.
Yeah. Injuries are much more concerning than offensive performance for me, and I'd forgotten about the back. I did know there was something that could potentially be some trouble, but what I think where his value is going to be understated is the fact, like, to me, I think that you're seeing a transition of, yes, strikeouts are going to be strikeouts are dominant, and the Cardinals just don't have enough of them now. I think they do in the minor league system, but I'm just going to say this. I think a changeup is becoming your new 105. I think that we're going to start seeing more changeup, sweeper type, go back to the heavy ground ball systems that we saw 5 years ago. And there's a new drive to hey, we are overlooking a lot of guys that can pitch because they don't light up the radar gun. I think that transition's happening across baseball, which really makes Wynn's value high. And I think that over the next year or two, I think we'll start seeing more of that. Length in games, I think pitchers are going to go longer in that. I think infield defense is becoming all that more optimal. And the Cardinals have one right now that I think is elite if they can figure out the third base slot. And I think that makes him, one of the top players in the league, potentially with what he can bring.
And that's fascinating, because I was just about to go the other way with that, because I wondered if his value would start to decrease a little bit just because the Cardinals were bringing up those flamethrowers, right? That they're getting a lot more strikeouts than this team has gotten in the past. But I also know that they have been focusing on changeups and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I mean, because you're right. I mean, they do have a lot more swing and miss, and if that's the case, your defense behind you is not as important. But when they do put it on the ground, if you're going to have your pitchers go any length, now we're not seeing a lot of that either. I look at those minor league games, and it feels like a lot of them are leaving at 5 or before.
Yeah, third time through the lineup is a forgotten approach now. For a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, especially in that development stage. But we've seen, when they do third time through the order in the major leagues, like Matthew Liberatore, it gets ugly. Well, Bernie had the stats up this week, I think, of every starter when they, in the Cardinals line rotation, when they get to the third time through, it's bad. I mean, it's really, and then that's nature. I mean, that is the third time through. We talk about that penalty all the time. It's to be expected, but it's a significant. It's not just it went from, they're hitting 150 to hitting 200. No, it's a bit of a jump, and we saw that really in the Liberatore game this week, right? I mean, he was kind of cruising along for 5 innings, and they tried to push him just a little bit more, and the runners got on, and then he got burned by his bullpen as well. But we've seen a lot of that where it's I don't know what you do about it, because that's always going to be an issue. It always has been an issue. We just didn't quantify it as much.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's, having more pitches. It's, it's better approach, because, or we're just never going to get back to that where a starter goes 6 or 7 innings regularly. And, we're just going to have to live with this, hey, they got to 5. That means they're a starting pitcher.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that technology's changed that too. I think that the fact that you can go in and get immediate feedback, immediate data feedback of each at bat, I think tells a lot of the story of shortening the games for starters. And I mean, I know it works both ways, but I think that helps the approach of the guys at the plate, and it makes it that much more difficult on starting pitchers to go extended times. And honestly, Tommy John probably is a big determining factor in that as well. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I say that I'm saying Tommy John injury because that's the most predominant name now for multiple reasons. It's passed away last week, but you do the surgery. But Tommy John, I'm equating all pitcher injuries into that.
Right.
That your shelf life is short.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is for sure. So, I don't know. I mean, it is a different game, and a lot of us that have grew up with, those guys throwing 85 miles an hour into the 8th inning, it's hard sometimes to adjust that, there are trade-offs for the velocity that you see, and that's just, but if you've got a good bullpen, I guess you can manage it. The Cardinals just don't necessarily have a good bullpen right now. It really feels like, I mean, it's really gotten to the point now in that bullpen. Who do you trust to come out of it? It used to be that I felt pretty good about George Soriano coming out. He struggled as of late.
I felt like he's hit a wall. You're right. We talked about that a little bit last week.
I mean, what we saw on Thursday, you have a five run lead, right? And just, I can't remember if he even got an out. Maybe he got one. Then you got Riley O'Brien, who couldn't find the strike zone either. And O'Brien's been better, but you still kind of, and he's done well. So I don't want to. I mean, that was kind of a one-off a little bit for him, but O'Brien's only also coming into a certain situation, right? You're only coming into a game where you got a lead in the 9th inning. Trying to get that, going from a lead in the 5th to a lead in the 9th right now is, who do you pick? Justin Brule has been fairly solid, but he can't pitch every night. I was hoping that Caleb Ferguson would be something, but it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. It's like you can't, and other reason you can't blame anything on Oli because I mean, what choices does he have?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's can't really find an answer. Stanek is Stanek. One of those things, and it's difficult. I mean, that's I think that those are understated. I think that it's easy to say, hey, what's the situation here? Why isn't he throwing this guy when honestly they may just be out of gas and Marmol gets beat up a little bit for it and just can't necessarily report that.
Yeah, or it's like he pitched yesterday and I want him to pitch tomorrow, or hope he can pitch tomorrow, so I got to take off today. I agree. I mean, it's one of those trying to juggle everything, trying to make sure you get enough rest that you're not burning through the bullpen, because it's not a bullpen, and we've seen it all year, and we talked about it at the very beginning of the year. It's not a bullpen that has that churn at the end of it. It doesn't have the guys that have all these options, and you're just going to rotate these guys. Somebody pitches well, and you rotate them out. There's not a lot of that, right? I mean, it's Ryan Fernandez and Matt Swanson have gone up and down, but that's about it, right? Because these guys don't have options, or they're older, or whatever the case may be. This is the bullpen as it is, or they get released. So you've got to manage that workload. And you're right. Sometimes it's like, hey, he needs another day, so we have to get by without him. But I also don't think, like I said, except for Riley O'Brien, maybe there's anybody out there that were like, man, they really should have thrown that guy, because it's like that guy might have blown up too.
Yeah, it's just you like the anything you throw out right now is just a crapshoot. So it's kind of tough, and it's kind of gone back and forth, and I wonder if every team's kind of struggling with this in August, or is it one of those things of now it's solidifying going into a playoff run, and that's the differing factor with some of these teams. I don't know.
I will say, Luis Castillo has
made
some adjustments.
I'm glad you brought that up. It was one of those last week we were like, this has been a terrible call up, but he has gotten better. Now last night was a little bit of bad luck, but he has been better, and I need to bring that up after poo-pooing it so hard last week.
Yeah. I think we saw that. I think Jeff Jones had it out this week. That they gave him a week off, like after the Toronto series. They didn't use him for a week as they made some adjustments, and then those seem to have clicked. He seems to have been a lot more of like the player that we saw in the minor leagues. And I will say the Peter Strelinsky, a guy that just kind of came out of nowhere, got picked up off the waiver wire or whatever the case may be, and is now in the bullpen. I'm not saying that you want to rely on him, but it feels like without looking at the numbers, it feels like he's been a little bit more reliable than some others.
Yeah, well, that's true, and I've noticed they also like to extend him a little bit. You're right. I mean, just because it's not the hot name or guys that we've heard coming up, it's easy to forget about. But you're right. I mean, he's pitched a lot of good innings and definitely multiple innings. It's always impressive to me out of the bullpen.
Yeah, it feels like Ollie's gone to that idea a lot this year. Brule was a guy that I didn't expect to be, but now is often
and they
going
really
2
trust
innings.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, and then Strelinsky, and then it just feels like they try to go, and some of that is you're going to use them 2 innings here, and then not use them for another day or two versus an inning and all that. I don't know. I assume that's a health issue or a way to keep a little bit better way of keeping people fresh, but yeah, I think I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that we are seeing multiple innings out of guys quite regularly. Where it was almost felt like 2 or 3 years ago it was if anybody went over 1 inning, it was kind of really surprising.
Yeah, they'd gotten away from it a little bit, and had so many of the specialists, but now it's turning back into some pitching a little bit, and it gets you more 1 inning saves and more 1 inning appearances, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean if Strelinsky gets past Myers there, and what was that the doubleheader game? That he would have pitched 3 innings.
Yeah.
And gotten a save in that regard. And he just made 1 bad pitch, and Reds tied it up and then wound up, winning it. So, yeah. I don't know. Again, there are guys out there that, I wouldn't say we trust them, but they're better than others, I guess.
Yeah.
And but I mean that's the nature of relievers. One day they're great and one day they're terrible, and you just never know until they get on the mound.
Yeah. Yeah, and this time of year, it's 100% true. You just never know.
Yep. Cardinals have the Orioles and Pirates at home this week, so that should be interesting, and hopefully at least put up some wins, even if they're not going to be. I mean, they're still hanging around that wild card spot, and maybe they can continue to do that, but that. Hopefully give them a little bit padding for that run to 500.
Sure.
Anything else from this week that maybe you would like to touch on?
You know what? I think we're good. Been a good, exciting week. Good, exciting week of baseball. Anytime you can go and win a series at Wrigley and win the season series, honestly, against the Cubs is good. I mean, I consider the Cubs a good team. I mean, they're going to make a playoff run potentially. Go play well at Cincinnati is always difficult. That's one of those where I was worried you could lay an egg there, and I kind of thought it had happened by losing the series on Thursday. Then if you have a good showing this week, I mean, you never know. And you're right. Stay above 500. Finish above that. Stay where, I mean, if you make a run, you play good baseball for a week, and you make a serious run at a playoff spot, and, get the Dodgers in round 1. I mean, it happens. But no, just keep plugging along. It's been a lot of fun. We're moving into September, moving into the fall, and we're talking about faint hopes, but we're also talking about a bright future, and that's exciting.
Yeah. And the fact that, the Cardinals could finish 500 and out of the playoffs, and an American League team can finish under 500.
Seems like it may happen. You're right. Seems like it may happen. I want to give somebody some credit. And it's one of those situations to where as a player in the lineup, I just don't feel like he gives enough, but I do think that he's kind of, even with the rookies and with Walker and doing everything, it's amazing to me that Burleson leads the league in doubles. He just continues to hit. Hope he's a Cardinal long term, and I think he's a darn good first baseman too. A good week, and I mean that's who you want to see coming to the plate right now is Mr. Consistency, really.
Yeah, I guess I thought we talked about it last week. Maybe it was on Gateway. But it really feels like Burleson's kind of getting into that core group of players.
Yeah.
And if he can continue to improve, and he has been improving against lefties, if he continues that, it'll be even more so. But he has been probably the most consistent hitter this year. I mean, he hasn't hit significant slumps. We've seen Walker go up and down. a lot less down than in the past, but
Yeah.
He's been some of that, and Herrera had the same way. JJ Weatherholt still it hasn't hit as much lately. I mean, he's still been a force, no doubt, but but yeah, Burleson's a guy that you really do kind of. You're right. If there's runners on, you'd really like to have him coming to the plate because it really feels like he's gonna be able to come up and do something. So
Sure.
I don't know what that means for him long term on this team, just because of roster construction. What is it? What's Herrera going to do? Do they need to move somebody to first base with all the catchers coming up, or whatever the case may be? But at least for right now, he's a pretty important part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making the decisions. If it's a situation where you have to move Herrera because he can't catch, and you're worried about an everyday DH role to first base to move Burleson, I think that's a bad decision.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's what they would.
No, I agree. I think that I thought you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is solidifying him as being a guy that will probably be around a long time.
Yeah, you got a good chance. That being said, first base is one of those positions that you often can fill, but I don't think they're any rush to try to do that. Because if they were, I think they would have traded him. Because I can't imagine his value is going to be more higher than what it was, this year. Maybe it will. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it'll be even better next year. But we will see. All right. Well, again, a series against a couple of weaker teams this week. So we will see how that shakes out. And Alan and I will be with you next week. Until then, for Alan, I'm Daniel. Good night.
Good night.
Swing drive, well hit right. Suzuki back. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. 3 homers for Baez. Major League history at Wrigley Field.